Hello Algebra 1, here's our first video for Chapter 7, our new unit on polynomials. Everything you see from now on will not necessarily be linear. So for example, we will not be graphing all lines. All of our equations that we're solving will not be linear. And you're going to see a lot of exponents such as x to the second, which if you recall means that we're going to multiply x twice, or even something like y to the third, which means we'll multiply y 3 times. And so let's get started. Because this is our first unit, you're going to see a lot of vocabulary. So let me take you through some of these new terms. First of all, what is a polynomial? A polynomial is an expression with powers that could be greater than 1, usually. For example, x squared plus 2x plus 1 is a great example of a polynomial. You'll notice how the x squared is there. We actually have seen polynomials before because even when we graphed, for example, y equals 3x minus 2, that 3x minus 2, that's also considered a polynomial. It has an x variable, so it is an expression, and it actually has a power of 1. Even if you just see a number by itself, that is technically considered a polynomial. You might be thinking, well, there isn't even an x there. Technically, there is an x to the 0, which we will discuss in another chapter. So really, that is a polynomial. The degree of a polynomial is actually the highest exponent. In the expression. So for example, this polynomial has a degree 2, this polynomial has a degree 1, this polynomial has a degree 0. The leading coefficient, a coefficient is the number multiplied by the variable. With the highest exponent. For example, the leading coefficient in this expression is 1. There's the highest exponent of 2, but the leading coefficient is 1. This leading coefficient is 3, and this leading coefficient is 6. When you write a polynomial in standard form, you write the highest exponent first. And then in descending order after that. So for example, if I were to write 2x plus 1 plus x squared, that would not be in standard form. I need to turn that into x squared, which has the highest exponent, and then 2x, which has an exponent of 1, and then 1 would come last. So this would be standard form. They are equivalent, but later on it'll be easier for us to solve and graph if we write it that way. Few other words. A monomial is a polynomial with one term. So for example, when I showed you before the number 6, that's a monomial. It has one term. Or 2x, maybe negative 4y, or even something like 8x squared times y to the third. Terms are separated by plus and minus signs, and none of these have plus and minus signs, so they're all just one term. A binomial has 2 terms. So for example, if I said 2x minus 3, or if I said 4y squared plus 7, those have 2 terms. And then a trinomial would have 3 terms. So like my example above, x squared plus 2x plus 1, that's a trinomial. It has 3 terms, 1, 2, 3. So we're going to work with that vocab for just a second. We'll write the polynomial in standard form, identify the degree and leading coefficient, and identify the polynomial by the number of terms like we just did, monomial, binomial, or trinomial. So first of all, standard form. I would write the negative 5x to the 4th first because that has the highest exponent, then 3x squared second, and then the 2 last. My degree, which I'll just call d, is the highest exponent, which is 4. My leading coefficient, LC, is the -5 that's being multiplied in front. And I have to identify this as a trinomial because it has 3 terms. So number 2, the 8x would come first, and the 7 would come last. So my degree is the highest exponent, which is actually just a 1. Even though we don't see it, there is a 1 there. My leading coefficient would be that 8 that's multiplied in front. And since there's only 2 terms, this would be a binomial. This last one just has 1 term, so it is in standard form already. Now the degree here is a little bit different. Since there's 2 different variables, we actually just add those 2 numbers together, and the degree is 6. So the degree is 6. The leading coefficient is that -6 multiplied in front. And it just has 1 term, so that's a monomial. So if you look below, there's a chart here, and I'm calling this a checkpoint, which means you'll try it on your own today, and then we will check it tomorrow in class. And you will get a point for doing that. You'll get a homework point. If you flip the page, we're going to do some adding and subtracting with our polynomials. And you'll notice here we'll do our first example, second example, and then there'll be another checkpoint for you to do, which will go over that in class. So up to example number 1, find the sum. So we're going to add, and we are going to just combine like terms. There is still a 1 as the coefficient of this x squared, so 3x squared plus 1x squared. So how many x squares are there? There's 4 of them. We just add the coefficients. So 4x and 2x. How many x's are there? There's 6. And then we have 5 and -2. 5 plus -2 is 3. So you'll remember combining like terms before. It's the same idea. Make sure your answers are in standard form. So 1x squared minus 3x squared. That would be -2x squared. This 4x does not have a partner, so we'll just write plus 4x. And then we have the 3 plus the 5. 3 plus 5 is 8. And so that will be our final answer. Now the differences are a little bit different because we have to subtract. So for example, we're going to take 3 minus the 1. And I'll show you a little trick to help us remember to subtract all 3 of these terms in this second polynomial. I'm going to put a little negative sign here right above those 3 terms so I can remember to subtract. It's like distributing this negative, and then I can just add them together. So I'm just going to change their signs basically. So 3x squared minus 1x squared would be 2x squared. The 4x minus the 2x would just be 2x. And 5 minus 2 would be 3. So if I'm going to subtract, I can change this actually to a plus sign, and I'll remember to subtract that x. So again, it's like distributing the negative. So 3x squared plus 2x squared would be 5x squared. 2x minus that 1x, remember there's a 1 there, that's only 1x. And then the 4 does not have a partner, so we'll just add him over, positive 4. And that's my final answer, so I'll leave you to do the checkpoints, and we'll go over those tomorrow in class. Have a good day.